They don't close Hawthorne Academy anymore. They just stopped talking about it. The school sits on a low hill outside of Salem, surrounded by black iron fencing and trees that lean inward as if listening. It was founded in 1891 as a private boarding school for girls. Brick exterior, narrow windows, a bell tower that hasn't rung in decades. From the outside, it looks preserved. From the inside, it feels paused. Hawthorne has a reputation for academic excellence, high test scores, prestigious college placements, generations of legacy families. But every 30 or so years, something happens there. And then it doesn't. The first recorded incident was in 1902. A student named Eleanor Whitcomb vanished from her dormitory room overnight. Her bed was still warm when her roommate woke. The window was locked from the inside. The door had been bolted. Search parties combed the grounds for weeks. They never found her. The official record lists it as presumed runaway, but Eleanor left behind everything: clothes, money, even her locket. Inside the locket was a photograph of the Hawthorne courtyard, specifically the old sycamore tree at its center. The tree still stands. In 1931, another student disappeared. Margaret Hale, 17, editor of the school literary journal. Last seen in the library during evening study hours. A faculty member reported hearing footsteps in the restricted upper stacks long after curfew. By the time staff investigated, Margaret was gone. A notebook was found open on a desk. The last sentence she wrote, "It's under the tree." No one knew what that meant. Again, presumed runaway. Again, no body. In 1960, history repeated itself. This time it was a scholarship student, Anna Reyes. She was found wandering the athletic field at 3:12 a.m., barefoot in a nightgown. When a teacher approached her, Anna reportedly said, "She's still there." Who? The girl in the roots. Anna had no prior history of sleepwalking, no record of mental illness. By morning, she remembered nothing. But 3 days later, she disappeared. No forced entry, no footprints, no explanation. After Anna, the school quietly removed the sycamore tree. Officially, it had been struck by lightning and declared unstable. Unofficially, alumni say it was perfectly healthy. When workers dug it out, they discovered something that never made it into newspapers. Beneath the roots, they found a shallow cavity lined with old stone. Empty, but not natural. It looked constructed, like something had once been placed there or removed. The cavity was filled with concrete that same week, and for nearly 40 years, nothing happened. Until 1999, a sophomore named Claire Donovan began reporting strange sounds in the dormitory walls. Scratching, soft knocking, always between 2 o'clock and 2:30 a.m. Maintenance inspected the pipes, the insulation, the attic. Nothing. Claire's roommate later said Claire had become obsessed with old yearbooks. She spent hours in the archives, flipping through pages from 1902, 1931, 1960. One evening, Claire approached a history teacher and asked a strange question. "Why do their faces look the same?" The teacher assumed she meant uniforms. Claire shook her head. "The missing girls. They look like each other." 3 weeks later, Claire failed to show up for breakfast. Her bed had not been slept in. Security footage showed her entering the courtyard at 1:47 a.m. alone. The footage cuts out at 1:52 a.m. There is no recording of her leaving. By that time, the sycamore tree was long gone. In its place stood a circular stone bench. Students began avoiding it after dark. Rumors spread, not loudly, not dramatically, but in whispers. They said Hawthorne doesn't take girls randomly. They said it chooses them. Always thoughtful, always observant, always the kind who ask questions about the past. In 2001, the school commissioned a quiet internal review. They brought in historians, psychologists, structural engineers. Nothing concrete was found, but one archivist made an observation that unsettled administrators enough to bury the report. Every missing student bore a subtle resemblance to Eleanor Whitcomb. Not identical, but similar features: bone structure, eyes, expression. It could have been coincidence, or projection, or something else. Classes continued. Graduations came and went. Then, in 2022, during renovations to modernize the courtyard, construction crews removed part of the concrete foundation put in 1960. Beneath it, they found soil, undisturbed, except for a small hollow space, no bigger than a coffin. Empty. Again. There were no bones, no fabric remnants, no physical evidence that anyone had ever been placed there. But carved faintly into one of the stones lining the cavity were initials: E.W. Eleanor Whitcomb. Officials dismissed it as vandalism. Students weren't so sure, because earlier that same year, a freshman named Lily Grant had reported seeing a girl standing in the courtyard at night, not moving, just watching the dorm windows. When Lily described her to a friend, she said something specific. She looked old-fashioned, like from a different yearbook. Lily did not disappear, but she transferred schools the following semester. No explanation given. Today, Hawthorne Academy still operates. The courtyard is landscaped. The bench remains. Security cameras have been upgraded. No official cases remain open. No bodies have ever been found. But if you look at class photographs spanning more than a century, there's something that unsettles people who study them closely. In certain years, 1902, 1931, 1960, 1999, one extra face appears in the background of the group portraits. A girl, not listed in the roster, standing slightly apart, expression unreadable. In older photos, the image is faint. In 1999, it is clearer. And in the most recent graduating class photo, taken just last spring, there she is again, standing near the center of the courtyard, exactly where the sycamore tree once grew. The administration insists it's a trick of light, a digital artifact, pareidolia, but the pattern remains, roughly every 30 years. A question asked, a girl who looks a little too much like the first one, and a space beneath the courtyard that is never quite empty. Hawthorne Academy doesn't close. It continues. Enrollment strong, reputation intact. But after dark, when the campus quiets and the wind moves across the hill, students say you can sometimes hear something beneath the stone. Not scratching, not knocking, just the slow sound of shifting earth, as if something below is adjusting its position, waiting for the next question.